Okay, let's get going as people gradually start joining, but we've only got 30 minutes this morning, so let's get cracking. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our fifth in the series, exploring how tax technology can help you. As always, a couple of very quick housekeeping points. Today's session will be recorded. There's an opportunity for questions at the end. If you could ask them via the Q&A feature rather than the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. There will be a follow-up session for today's topic where we'll invite you to have a deeper dive, and invites will follow after today's event. And as always, we're going to keep it to 30 minutes today, so nice and short. So on to the main event. I'm Ian Bowden, tax partner and head of our BDO's tax automation group. The purpose of this series is to explore how tax technology can help you. We wanted to run the series to raise awareness of the great options that are available to help you with everyday tasks and helping you find a better way. And each month we pick a different topic. Each month we have a different special guest. So far we've covered indirect taxes, corporate taxes, a bit of transfer pricing, bit of stat accounts. And please do check out those videos if you've missed any of those on our website. Today's session is very close to my heart and kicks off a BDO series for the next 6 or 7 weeks of events as we look at ways to improve your year end. Asking the simple question, how was your year end? Joining us today is Josh and Bryony from Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters is one of the leading tax software vendors in the market, and we're delighted that they're joining us today to talk through their tax provision offering. Thank you both very much for joining. Before we hand over to Bryony and Josh, as always with these sessions, we do like to provide a very quick market overview on today's topic. And it's obviously an area where many of you are still using Excel as part of your year-end process. So joining me this morning to discuss all things year-end is Scott Mills. Scott's one of our senior specialists in tax provision and has been doing this for a little while. So over to you, Scott, to tell us what's going on.
Thanks, Ian. So as Ian said, I'm Scott Mills. I'm a senior manager and one of the senior implementers in the tax automation team. As part of our role, we talk to a lot of clients in the market about their job, their processes, and the struggles they're facing. And I'm here today to share with you some of what we've been seeing here in the market. And the underpinning theme I think that we're seeing, that for a whole host of reasons, is that technology in the tax sector especially is shifting from a nice to have to a need to have. The accessibility and the relative ease of learning of Excel has got a lot of tax departments through the journey to this point, but both internal and external factors, meaning that this is becoming a less and less fit for purpose solution, particularly around the year-end process. One of the things we're seeing a lot of is closed periods becoming ever shorter. Whereas some clients used to have to report provisional tax numbers, for example, on workday 8 or 9, we're now seeing this in some cases coming down to workday 4. Unfortunately, the existing processes aren't able to cope with this. There's a lot of information that is known before the year-end process opens. For example, your opening balances, your prior year adjustments, and the existing processes don't allow you to actually roll those forward and check those easily before you actually go into the year-end process. So this is causing some real problems, and it's causing a lot of time pressure in the year-end process, with staff having to work some very long hours, working their evenings and their weekends to pull together the information in time. Another thing we're seeing a lot of clients struggling with is inconsistent information, both in data extracts which they're receiving and within their own processes, which is arising as the amount of data that is manually input within these processes. Exacerbating this is changes to information, often late in the day, where posting this to the correct entities is simply implausible due to constraints that exist in the current process. We're often seeing clients post in large topside adjustments to deal with these, which then requires a lot of unpicking after year end to push down to the correct entities. And we're seeing that the longer that's left, the harder that is to unpick. Risk management is another one that's causing a lot of issues in the market at the moment. And we're seeing auditors pay a lot of more information to the tax numbers, and then the focus is shifting from just testing the information that's in the system to actually testing the process and how that's working. On the flip side of that, we're also seeing HMRC paying more interest in the provision numbers. This is where they're looking at the tax provision numbers, comparing that to the amount that's ultimately submitted in the tax return, and actually analysing those variances and using that as a basis to raise questions. Adding to a lot of the problems that we're seeing is the impact of recent and incoming legislation. So we're thinking country by country reporting, making tax digital for CT, which is coming a few years down the line, and Pillar 2, which is of concern to a lot of the large clients in the market. The data that's required for these can be vast, and turnaround times can be very tight. With clients already battling the process shortcomings to meet their existing reporting requirements, continual manual manipulation of the data and building of complex spreadsheets to try and meet these requirements is becoming less and less viable. All of these things are causing a lot of clients to look at the market, and with BDO being a whole of market implementer, we're always delighted to be able to talk them through the many and good, well-established options out there. One of these great options is Thomson Reuters, and on that note, I'll hand you over to our friends Josh and Bryony from the team there to talk you through their solution.
Thanks very much, and thank you to both Ian and Scott and the team at BDO for inviting us to present today. So just bringing up our slides. So as Ian was just saying, we'd like to talk to you today about our ONESOURCE Direct Tax Suite, particularly around our tax provision offering. But to set the scene, Scott's just been raising some of the challenges that they've been seeing, and we just would like to add to see what we're hearing from our customers around challenges with the current compliance processes, introduce you to the ONESOURCE platform, which underpins our suite of ONESOURCE products, and how this drives an efficient use of data, talk you through a customer use case just so you can see firsthand how that platform is being used, and then tell you more about ONESOURCE tax provision. Now, as you're more than aware, there are a number of challenges in managing that direct tax process. And what we are hearing is that there continues to be challenges keeping across the changes in filing requirements and also the varying jurisdictional requirements as well. And getting the correct data can also have its issues, as Scott was just flagging. There are often multiple ledgers, source systems, particularly where there have been acquisitions. The increasing number of points and ensuring the data is granular enough for the tax process, and also where the processes are still manual, relying on spreadsheets. It just takes a lot of time, and there is also an increased risk. It only takes one person to put the wrong formula accidentally in a cell, and you're reporting incorrect data. As well as all the data and reporting type requirements I've just flagged, businesses are facing other broader issues like reducing costs, particularly in the current environment we find ourselves in, and also keeping hold of good staff in a working environment that has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. And where there is so much data and changing requirements and manual processes, there is just a general lack of oversight and governance. Now, we see that businesses look to how they can improve these processes and introduce technology to help them as part of that process improvement, often with the assistance of advisors such as BDO, who have the experience to guide them. Now, looking at the technology that ONESOURCE offers, you can see here in the central column the various compliance functions we cover, and we will come on to provision in a moment. And being compliant, whether it's for your regulatory updates to stat reporting, filing your tax returns, or the new Pillar 2 requirements, this is what ONESOURCE does. It is the bread and butter of what ONESOURCE delivers for our customers.
Cheers, thank you, Bryony. And just to build onto that, on terms of the core solutions we have, many of you probably used some of Thomson Reuters products in the past, or might even be using those currently within your organization. And those kind of bread and butter, those pillars of the ONESOURCE platform, if you like, the tax provision, the corporate tax solutions, they've been around for many years. Thomson Reuters has been in this space for around 20 to 30 years. Also, what we've been doing a lot with those solutions is obviously reinvesting in those over time. And over the last 7 or 8 years, we've really been moving those solutions into a cloud-based platform. What this gives you is a much more end-to-end process, which then enables you to leverage synergies across each of those individual processes, leverage those synergies, and things like master data, the accounting and tax data. We can bring that into the cloud platform and drive efficiencies through that. This more connected approach across those solutions helps to de-risk processes and really drive the efficiency and open up more capabilities across tax and your accounting processes. What I would say is crucial to our cloud strategy is our API strategy. You may have heard of APIs within industry. these essentially enable us to establish much more integrations between ONESOURCE solutions, as well as with your wider technology ecosystem. And I think that's becoming increasingly important. We've already heard about Making Tax Digital and other initiatives that are requiring these joined up approaches to things like your ERP systems and your consolidation systems. And we see that used a lot with our provision solution, where yes, TB data might come across, but people might also want unit details, FX rates, journals, and other bits and pieces to be integrated between, the consolidation systems and our solutions in here. So the ONESOURCE platform gives you these core solutions for delivering on your core processes, but it is a connected ecosystem that enables you to leverage data right across those processes to drive efficiencies. And a really good example of how we see that all come together is actually in the tax provision space. So we'll often see clients use a combination of our solutions to help demonstrate that gap to stat to tax walkthrough in a more clear, more joined up way than you would typically get with lots of separate solutions. So where customers are capturing and importing data directly into the ONESOURCE platform, if you think about the provision process, you typically are getting structured data such as trial balance data, but also perhaps unstructured data as well. So we can take that data through various data collection capabilities and bring that into the ONESOURCE platform. So if we take an example of, say, the gap trial balance, you might be bringing that from your ERP system. You might want to sensitize that data further, have some automatic wrangling of that data in order to maximize the automation and the level of the automation and the accuracy of the results that you're getting out of the downstream process, such as the provision process. So by deploying ONESOURCE's wider data management capabilities, as well as partnering with advanced analytical and data wrangling solutions such as Alteryx with automated workflows, you're really able to maximize that level of automation and increase that integration and connectivity between the ONESOURCE platform and your other technology out there. Okay, and we can do this without adding to the workloads of individuals, and I think that's a key point there. Many clients will bring their gap data into ONESOURCE and feed this into, say, our statutory reporting solution, where they will then apply additional adjustments to get to that local gap position. What this then gives you within the platform is a clear audit trail from that gap to stat position. And for some, it might be a case of gap adjustments being done elsewhere and layering these in. Others will actually leverage ONESOURCE's own capabilities to help determine these adjustments. Either way, within the platform, it gives you a good, clear walkthrough from your gap position to your local gap, which is then there available for you to be able to leverage within the tax provisioning process. Okay, so it just starts to show how we can start to bring that wider suite all together. And I think combining ONESOURCE capabilities is a key strength to the ONESOURCE offering. It enables you to leverage those synergies across your processes, not just within the provision, but across your processes throughout the year to really achieve the ultimate efficiencies that we're all looking for. So with that, one of the ways you can actually look at ONESOURCE is like Lego bricks, where you can combine the capabilities that we have in offer to be able to achieve your particular needs for your organization. So for example, our cloud platform enables you to reduce administration across solutions by centralizing much of the admin across applications at a platform level. We then have a wealth of user-friendly capabilities to aid with the data collection, the data management, manipulation, and integration of that data into the solutions. I think at this point, it's worth mentioning that BDO are well versed in ONESOURCE capabilities, and they can really help you to identify how you can leverage those capabilities to resolve particular nuanced challenges in the provision process, as well as then factoring in that bigger picture as well, because it might well be that these capabilities you can then leverage for other purposes as well. You then have what I consider our core solutions. So we've highlighted some direct tax ones here. We've got our tax provision and our corporate tax compliance solutions. We also will see users commonly combine these with our statutory reporting solution, as seen in the previous example. And this completes what I like to think of as really the three pillars of the direct tax and accounting's life cycle. So you've got tax provisioning at the year end, the stat reporting, and then the tax returns. And it's the combining of those three solutions and being able to leverage synergies across these that, for me, that really makes ONESOURCE stand out. And is actually personally why I joined TR, because that's kind of, that connectivity is all what we're ultimately trying to achieve when working in-house. So what we then see increasingly is that organizations are then needing to factor in additional capabilities around international tax. We've had country by country reporting several years ago now, and things like DAX 6. Of course, now many organizations are now facing the challenge of Pillar 2. And we have a dedicated application for Pillar 2 as well. And we're seeing huge demand to bring that in on top, along with the provision capabilities that we have. So let's concentrate more specifically on the provision process. I'm sure that many of you, like me, have experienced some kind of process that's similar to that on screen. So very manual, Excel flying all over the place, difficult to consolidate, reconcile, having to do extra reconciliations all the time, and ultimately causing a lot of delays and anxiety, and often long nights and long weekends in order to finalize and get past the audit. So these processes obviously are often high risk, time pressured, often dependent on key individuals in the organization. And I think one of the biggest areas of concerns for me always was the lack of visibility of what is happening at a local level, not knowing if people are working on results or as to what quality that information is going to be and when it is provided to us. So as a result, the provision process typically tends to be, quite a reactive exercise, causes additional complexity and stress, and rather than adding kind of value to the business. And as Bryony mentioned, this can actually then hinder staff retention. I'm actually a case in point on that. And I'm sure you, like me, by the end of the process, typically want to go book a holiday, give yourself a much needed rest. So I think it's important to highlight again where BDO and Thomson Reuters with ONESOURCE can come in here. BDO, we've worked a lot with for many years now. We know they're particularly adverse in identifying, what works well in your existing process and what can be leveraged, but also spotting the constraints that you face now, as well as potential pitfalls to look out for in the future. So once that's kind of gone through that process, you can then really leverage ONESOURCE and BDO's expertise to move you from a complex, disjointed kind of reporting process to a clear, end-to-end, more streamlined ONESOURCE approach that works for your particular organization. It's really by combining ONESOURCE with BDO's expertise that you can really simplify the process, automate it further than potentially otherwise possible, and then ultimately report faster, and then provide more valued insight to the business year on year, not just within the provisioning process as well. So why ONESOURCE? Why ONESOURCE tax provision to help with the provision aspect? I think in addition to our wider capabilities that can complement the process, our integrations with the other solutions, ONESOURCE tax provision software is designed to automate the tax reporting process and improve the accuracy, the efficiency, and the control of the overall provision process. So the tax software provides a centralized platform for managing your tax data, for the calculations, and for presenting the results, really enabling you to generate accurate and timely results. So one of the main benefits, therefore, is obviously achieving greater accuracy and efficiency. And ONESOURCE tax provision can help you really reduce errors that can occur when preparing the tax reports manually. The software will automate the tax reporting process, allowing your team to meet your reporting deadlines more efficiently. The increased visibility and controls was something that I'm particularly a fan of. ONESOURCE really helps you, I think, to reduce anxiety within the process, as well as to identify potential risks and opportunities. The software itself will provide, much greater control over the tax reporting process, really enabling you to track and manage changes as they happen. The web-based approach of the ONESOURCE solution as well really facilitates greater collaboration among your team members by providing that centralized platform for your tax data management and adjustments to be made in. This really can help ensure that everyone is on the same page and that any changes that are made are visible in real time. And this really can have a significant effect in enhancing the lives of those in group tax, but also those at the local regions as well. So ultimately, ONESOURCE is then going to provide you a set of comprehensive reports that are out of the box, enabling you to generate those reports accurately in a timely fashion. What I would highlight is that users can easily slice and dice these in real time. There is no need for coding or other IT skills and customizations. And I think that is one of the key strengths of the ONESOURCE solutions. Really, of the ONESOURCE solutions. We've talked about integration already. We've talked about ingestion data and maybe leveraging data across other processes. Ultimately, this will help you save time and reduce the risk of errors from the transfer of data between different systems within the provision process as well as other processes. And I think it's worth highlighting that wider capabilities can also be leveraged to enable you to auto-reconcile between different systems, as well as present that information in different ways, such as through dashboards and so on. And you can really tailor the outputs to your particular stakeholders to ensure that they're seeing what they need to for that to help them with their day-to-day business. So ONESOURCE tax provision really is an essential tool for tax departments that are looking to streamline their tax provision process, or to automate that process, improve the accuracy, and really provide greater visibility and control within the process to save you time as well. Can I just do a time check for someone, everyone, because my timer is going.
Yeah, you got a couple of minutes, Josh, if there's anything else you need to
got a couple of minutes. Okay, if I could highlight one other aspect of provision, it would be the ease of use. Okay, I think ease of use is integral to any successful deployment of technology. I've learned this the hard way. You want to have a solution that is easy for you to use, that is primarily, I would say, out of the box. You don't want to be relying on IT for customization or vendors, and I really think that's an area that ONESOURCE does stand out. It doesn't mean it's not flexible. You've got flexibility is key. I actually think ease of use makes things more flexible if you're not relying on IT. So that would be one of the other key takeaways I would use from this. Now, the process itself, we said, will streamline data collection, help you focus your reviews. You can interact globally, view your local gap as well as your group gap results, and present this in numerous different ways. We can follow up with a deep dive into the solution. I'll just click through these because of the time, but you can start to see that, easy, nice looking solution. You can drill down into the data. You can slice and dice your reports in real time. And I think that's a real key bit. Data can then be extracted. We can use that for presenting in dashboards to get additional analytics and insights. And we can really work with you and through BDO to understand what your needs are there to make sure you're seeing what you need to do. And then, as I said earlier, key bit that's coming out of the provision process that we're seeing more and more now is the need to leverage this data and combine it with more international tax processes, such as country-by-country reporting, but increasingly the Pillar 2, which is hitting a lot of organizations. We've got a robust end-to-end solution for the Pillar 2, which connects and feeds in with our provision solution to really help you kind of really achieve the end-to-end for what you need from a provisioning perspective as well. Okay, and with that, I'll just pass back to Bryony.
Thanks, Josh. So with the ONESOURCE platform that we've highlighted to you and the compliance applications that we have on that platform, such as tax provision that Josh has just been through, we want to empower professionals like you to embrace change with confidence, so you can gain visibility, certainty, and agility, so that you can adapt quickly in what can sometimes be highly complex, risky, as Josh just flagged, and a rapidly evolving business and regulatory environment. So the ONESOURCE platform is reliable, so you can confidently comply with continuous change in tax and trade regulations. It's connected, so you can work faster and smarter with centralized and standardized data. It's intelligent, so you can analyze and compare data. And it's strong. So together with you and partners like BDO, we can adapt quickly in ways that are relevant to your business. Thank you for listening to me and Josh, and it's back to you, Ian and Scott.
Thanks, Bryony. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate you taking us through that. We've got a couple of minutes left for questions. We've got one question already, but if anybody does want to ask anything, please do pop it into the questions. But let's pick up the first one. And it's quite on point in terms of what you've just mentioned. So the question that's come in is, do you find clients are comfortable losing control of their Excel model which they may have known for years, to implement software which they don't have expertise in to implement and manage going forward. So I'll throw that over to the guys as well, but I'll just to give my initial reaction in terms of, do clients find it difficult losing control? Yes, at times people do. I think the challenge that we see, and the challenge that I had when I was doing this, was the fact that a lot of the time the Excel spreadsheets had been inherited from somebody else, and the Excel spreadsheets had grown over the years. And I don't think there's many people in industry that are 100% comfortable that every aspect of their spreadsheet works absolutely perfectly. So I think when we look at it in the cold light today, you do lose a little bit of something with Excel because you've done the calculations or put them in yourself, but there's so many errors and so many problems with volumes of data that it kind of goes away. And I think the reality that we see in terms of where the auditors are going and the extra questions that they're getting is they need to know where the data is coming from, and having a little bit of comfort that the calculator, which in essence, what these tools are, is a tax calculator, and somebody else has taken responsibility for calculating the numbers. So your responsibility is in terms of how you get the data into these types of tools. So I think there is always a little bit of nervousness around change because it is different to probably what we grew up with. But I think the reality is we have to move off Excel spreadsheets that are somewhat challenged or compromised in that way, and the way forward is these more enterprise grade tools that then help you integrate further. And they're not as difficult to use. A lot of them do have grown up along the lines of the spreadsheets that you've all built. So Bryony, Josh, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I would echo what you said. I would also say that I've seen, and I've designed Excel processes myself, and I've seen them work well at certain areas. What I think tends to happen, particularly when you get to a group tax level and you're spending huge amounts of time consolidating perhaps these Excel packs, the wins that you get from having that centralized within a system and not having to link all that information and data together tends to outweigh those kind of concerns. Which is one thing I also find with the spreadsheet approach. It often does create a key man dependency, and it might work well for a particular local region where you've got tax experts who know what they're doing. But as soon as you start applying those spreadsheets to other territories, it can often then fall down where maybe as a financial controller is not so tax savvy in terms of how to use those as well. So I think when you look at the centralized aspect of using the technology and the time savings that provides, as well as then the clear audit trails, it tends to do away with those concerns.
Thanks, Josh. Any further questions from the audience? Nothing coming through. Last one from me, Josh. If people have just finished their year end and are glowing with the fact that they've just answered the last of the auditor's questions and they don't want to talk about year end for a couple of weeks, what would you say to those people, and how would you encourage them to think about this differently?
I would say, first of all, enjoy your holiday if you've got one booked after the year end, like I always used to. It's always a deserved break. But I would say, start looking now. So in order to not that implementations need to take long, but it's worth thinking about this early. So you get ready in place for the next year end. Maybe do some, try it out on some earlier quarters or some less material months in advance to bear that kind of in mind when thinking about deploying further. So there's always no time like the present, and the longer you give yourselves, the more fulfilled that the end solution can be for you for the next year-end process.
Thank you very much, Josh. And I think it's important with MTD for CT around the corner, that ability to have the provision, the return and the stat accounts working together is going to be part and parcel of what we've got to do. 2024 for practices or pilots, and 2026 go live isn't too far away. It may well move, as we've seen with MTD for CT stuff in the past, but it's worth thinking about what it means. And yeah, enjoy your well-earned breaks from provisions. And if anybody has any questions, then please do get in touch. And that is 30 minutes. So thank you all very much for joining. Thank you for Bryony and Josh from Thomson Reuters for joining. Thank you for Scott. Really appreciate you joining these sessions. Hope you're finding them useful. If anybody does have any topics that they'd like us to cover, please do let us know. But on that note, have a good day, everybody, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.